Studio panel. Great to see everybody out here this morning. Did everybody have fun last night?
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Thank you.
Great. Well, you're welcome. So on this panel, we're going to talk about Player Studio in general. We're going to talk with each of the art directors and leads on the projects, give you guys some tips, advice, and learn a little bit about what's new and what's coming up on each of these games. So by way of introduction, I'm Joe Shupak, Director of Artistic Development for SOE Online. To my left, I have Kevin Leidy, who's the art lead for EverQuest. We have Dave Brown, who is the Associate Art Director for characters for EQ and EQ2. Tim Heidlar, Art Director on EverQuest 2. Trammell Isaac, Senior Art Director on PlanetSide 2. In the audience, we have Rosie Rappaport, Senior Art Director for Landmark and EverQuest Next, and Rick Reynolds, who is our Senior E-commerce Director. So we're all happy to be here today. We had a great year for Player Studio. You guys have done some incredible things. Did anybody attend? If you attended yesterday's panel that Trammell hosted, you got to hear a little bit about some of the individual creators, their stories, and some of the great things they've created. And it's a program where, as you saw last night, you can, if you have the dedication and...
Sorry, can you remind me? It seems like it's on. One moment, sorry.
It's filler.
Yeah, it was on.
They got the technical difficulties.
Do you mean redo the whole thing?
Yes, please. Yeah, well, if you want to kick it off again. Okay, thank you.
All right, this is take two on the presentation. Welcome everybody to the SOE Player Studio panel. We're happy to be here. Hope you guys had a good time last night. We're going to, in this panel, learn a little bit about what happened over the last year on Player Studio at SOE. We had a great year. We had some incredible creations done by some incredible creators, as witnessed by the panel that hopefully some of you attended last night, where you got to meet some of the creators and hear some of their stories, from people who had some experience to people that started with absolutely no experience and have created some fantastic work for us and contributed to the look and the community of all our games. So by way of introduction, I'm Joe Shupak, Director of Artistic Development for SOE Online Entertainment. To my left, Kevin Leidy, Senior Artist for EverQuest, and let's see who we have next. Dave Brown, Associate Art Director for EverQuest and EverQuest 2, dealing with characters. We have Tim Heidlar, who is the Art Director for EverQuest 2. Trammell Isaac, Senior Art Director for PlanetSide 2. In the audience, we have Rosie Rappaport, Senior Art Director for Landmark and EverQuest Next, and Rick Reynolds, who is our Senior E-commerce Director. So we're going to go from project to project here and talk a little bit about the year for each of these games, give you guys some tips, tricks, and advice, and hear a little bit about what is coming next for each of our games as it relates to Player Studio. So we're going to start with Kevin Leidy from EverQuest. Oh, and at the end, if you have, we're going to do Q&A at the end, so you can hold everybody's questions till all the presentations are done, and then we'll leave some ample time for people to ask questions. So Kevin, tell us a little bit about EverQuest.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Wow, that was awesome. So I was going to talk a little bit today about some of our categories, the new category. One of the questions that I've been asked an awful lot so far this weekend is, what are successful items? Why are they successful? And I was going to show you some, and we'll talk about why they are successful. So everybody knows that we now have three categories. We have the weapons and shields. We have housing items that you can make for your houses and guilds. And then we have a new category, which are Heroes Forge robes. We're really excited about that. It's going to be just really, really cool. So again, which categories are successful and why are they successful? In order of success, shields have been far the best seller that we've had. Weapons follow right behind that, and then housing items below that. I think why the shields are so popular is in EverQuest, appearance is very popular, as you all know. I'm sure you all own a lot of things to change your appearance. The weapons that we have that are successful are largely successful because there's this real cool factor about them. You know, they're unusual. They have very distinctive silhouettes. You know, most of the time when people see you carrying your weapons or your ornaments, they see you from a distance. So they're not going to be right on top of it until they inspect it. So that's kind of your advertisement, is to make a really cool silhouette so that it stands out from some of the other ones. The housing items are a little less popular because of the housing population. The ones that are successful generate a sense of place. They're not, it's not a base. It's a place where there's a center point and things can be built out around it. People get really, really, really creative with the various sort of building blocks and even more distinctive pieces. We were talking the other night about a piece that I'll show you later, which is a stable, and how people have customized that by moving things in different positions to create a farm. So you know, you guys are really clever with that stuff. It's always really fun to see what you come up with. Another thing that's been successful is groups or collections. Collections of things that either go in the house, or collections or groups of weapons that are all tied together, and we'll see some of those later. So here's some of our better selling items. We were talking about this just a second ago. This is the stable, which people have done a lot of interesting things with. The thing that's really nice about this is, like I said, it creates a center point, a focus, and people will build out from that. So that's partially why this is successful. As with all of our successful items, it's all about execution. You know, if they're done nicely, they generate a lot of interest. Here's one of our weapons that's done very well. And as you can see, it's got a very distinctive silhouette. When you see that from a distance, you know, it's very distinctive. The other thing, too, that makes this successful is the execution of it. We can see that it has a bit of a story to it. It has a little bit of a history to it. The materials it's made from and how it was crafted create an interesting element. Another sword, popular because of the detail work that's in it. A shield, same thing, executed really well, very interesting to see, distinctive at a distance. Another very big sword that creates interest. Another shield, executed really well. You can see that in the materials itself, there's a lot of interesting things going on. It's not busy per se, but it has a story about it. It you know, generates interest because of that. And here's the first of a collection here. And you can see that this is really, really well executed as well. From a distance, it has an interesting silhouette, and it has companions. Very, very well executed. So the appearance, the way that the appearances work in EverQuest, and this has been a question that we've heard a lot back on, is essentially it's the same model. So you're only creating one model, and we do the heavy lifting for you. But the model that gets passed down to all the various races is done so based on a location point and the size of a bone that's on the skeleton. So for bigger races, it's bigger. For smaller races, it's smaller. A lot of times the proportions of these items, they look a little different on smaller guys than they do on bigger guys. So as these things get passed down amongst all the 32 race genders, we're always looking for a sweet spot. You know, not too cartoonish on the big guys, and you know, not too silly on the small ones. So our new category is Heroes Forge. Like I said, we're really excited about this. It's been a really popular feature, and it plays right into what our great players enjoy, which is appearance. Some of the early submissions that we had with the other categories have done really, really well because they got there first. So I would encourage everybody, if you have any interest in this at all, the templates and samples will be downloadable, I'm told, on Monday. Of course, we won't be back till Tuesday, so you know, give us a day to catch up. The nice thing about the robes too is if you're not a 3D modeler, if you can't, you know, cross that barrier of entry, this is good because all you need is a little bit of 2D skills. The better executed ones will have disguised the UV seams and the breaks in the texture itself. So there's an image there that should help provide some reference for you as to how to do that. And you can do something like this. This is a brand new Set of Heroes Forge armor that will be coming out soon, and it's a really good inspiration for the kinds of things maybe to think about. Again, you know, as with the weapons, you can see that there's a great amount of detail in it. From a distance, it's going to be very distinctive, and that's a good thing for you to consider as you work on your robes. And that's all I got. Thank you so much.
So, Kevin, before we move on to Dave, who's going to talk about character-related assets, from the submissions you saw during the last year, what are some of the key things that people need to hit for a successful submission? Is it silhouette? Are they able to see it at a distance, or detail? Do you have any tips for the folks out there?
Well, first of all, you know, we've had some great contributors, and if you went to the panel last night, you've seen the progression. You know, people who started from scratch have done just marvelously. They really have. The reason that they've succeeded largely is their persistence, especially if, you know, you're just starting out. You know, we're here to help you. We want you to succeed. This is a partnership. If you get requests for revisions, we're trying to help you. The successful items, like I said earlier, largely are due to their execution. You know, if something implies a certain amount of story, if it has a distinctive silhouette that stands out amongst other things, they generally succeed, and that's pretty much what we've seen in some of the samples that you saw here just a few seconds ago.
And I imagine, as with all our games, the more you play and the better you know the game, the better chance you have of identifying. It's one thing to create a great-looking item, but the item has to be something that people in the community, for you to make, you know, money, something that people in the community are going to want. Mm-hmm. So playing the games is important. Asking questions from, I think IC Designs was telling us yesterday that she talked to a lot of people in game to see what they were interested in before she decided what she was going to make next. So being engaged in the community, I think, really critical too. I think we're ready to roll for Dave Brown. You want to tell us a little bit about EverQuest 2?
Yeah, my name's Dave Brown, Associate Art Director. I take care of all the character stuff. With Player Studio, what I try to focus on is just bringing up the artistic quality of all the Player Studio artists. One thing that's cool about our program is most things are made based on decorator feedback. We got decorators in here? Anywhere? Couple? Oh yeah, right here. Yeah, that's one of the biggest strengths of our program is there may be things that I'm like, I wouldn't use that in game, but other people, there's so many different players within our game that we don't say, hey, we're not gonna do that because that's not something I like, but some other players may like it. Like things such as like the fiddle. That when I first saw, I was like, I would never go around hitting stuff with a fiddle, but it sold really well because other people wanted it. And so what I try to focus on is just bringing up the quality of the art assets because it is an appearance. People are buying the visual of it. So we try to stay open-ended and allow people to make what they want, such as like the seahorses was done for Tim. That was a great item. It did really well. And you know, decorators like those little things. So I'm gonna go through and show you a couple different, I actually brought some shields, a couple Player Studio ones. Oh, okay, do we have, is my screen up now? Or? Yeah, I need that connected. Yeah, I can see it's not showing what, do I have to click anything here, or is that on your guys' side? Because I'm showing something different.
Shadow puppets.
Yeah. Well, while we're working out the technical challenge
This is a
here.
PowerPoint. Yeah.
Rick, do you want to take a couple questions?
Do we have any questions from the audience? Here.
Thank you. I'm not in EQ, I'm a landmarker. I'm very pleased to be. I understand that Landmark is working with the
It's in this
voxel
one.
concept, and that most of the other EQ or Sony Entertainment games are working with,
That's it.
what did I want to call that? Meshes, thank you. Because I don't play in any of the EQ or other games other than Landmark at this point, I'm wondering whether submissions, I've done tons of costuming, I've done a fair amount of building, and I'm talking real world. So I have concepts about the flow of fabrics and what various fabrics and colors of fabrics and the materials and fabrics will do. Therefore, because I cannot build them in EQ, I'm wondering whether the submission form or method for someone like me would be more likely artwork.
Well, we are going to start taking submissions for props, starting for Landmark, in the near future, but I can't give you an exact date. Soon, not now, because we need to work it all out before we release that. Wearables is one of the most challenging things for Player Studio for us, but we're aware that people want to do that, so we're keeping that in mind. So we'll probably be starting with weapons and shields after props. So that's way in the distant future. As far as handmade concepts, that's something that we've been talking about, how that would work. I'm not sure, because how that would be displayed and then offered and sold, because people can grab screenshots of it. But that is something that we're aware of. I think that it would be really, really good, especially for, as you said, wearables, but also architecture. So that's something that we are keeping in mind. We're aware that that would be good.
That's one of the reasons we're excited about the Heroes Forge robes in EverQuest. Players want to build new outfits for themselves. It's a lot of work to build 32 versions of anything. That's extremely daunting. How to get them all at the same quality level is challenging. So with the Heroes Forge technology, we found a way to make it work for this category. Also in EverQuest 2, we have cloaks. We found a way to make it work so that you only have to make one version of a cloak, and it'll work across all of the characters. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we'll get there.
All right.
Up to you.
Yeah, so I brought a couple shields here, a couple Player Studio ones, and then one created by artists. And one of the things I usually see with people creating items is I don't have enough poly count to finish that, or it's not looking right. And I'm going to show you some things here that'll help you kind of understand that within our limitations, you can do some really good work. So I think I should have a video here. Double click that. And awesome. I did. Clicking it twice, 3 times, 6 times,
Is
7
that
times.
the save ourselves? No, it's there.
Yeah,
Was that the protected content? Yes or no, that was up.
but we're looking awesome right now.
Go ahead and minimize it. Oh wait, that's second
Shall we
monitor.
take another question?
No, I can just show this stuff. I'll just show the screenshots. Always got to have a fallback, right? You know, things happen. This is like being at work. Things don't work, and we come in late and we fix stuff. Okay, now I got 3 different shields here. On your left, and the middle one, those are both Player Studio shields. And then the right is one created by one of our artists in-house. And what I wanted to show here is, I'm going to go down through the maps real quick, but you can see based on poly count, because sometimes people, you know, a lot of times we get items for Kevin, for EQ1, for me, for EQ2, and people are like, that'll work EQ1, but won't work EQ2. But you can see the shield on the right is only 372. It's in that EQ1 range. But it has all those bolts. I have a video that shows the lighting and stuff. And based on the maps, if you texture them right and do them, you can get the same quality as an item that may be 1,000 polygons. Because all you're doing is you're telling a monitor what color that pixel is based on its geo, its normal map. It's just information. You know, sometimes we kind of get past that, like we are creating in 3D, but the final product is a 2D screen, and all you're doing is give information, say, hey, this pixel is blue, it's highlighted, and you get the same image as though it was 3D. So when I break this down, I'll show you, got a couple screenshots here. First was a color map. Everybody's got to do a color map, and you can see how this player studio artist is really good. He did a good job of, they don't see the cursor there. Oh, okay. The middle one is a really good job with the diffuse map, color map. He slightly painted some shadows, give it some variance, give it lots of color. That'll also come out with, the normal map will push things out like that. And you can also see in the far right from our artist, he does the same thing. There's lots of texture work beyond just grabbing a texture off the net or just kind of manipulating stuff in there. You really want to create your shapes, create your designs, because you do have a 512 map. You can do a lot within that map. And then to help sell that, these are the normal maps. So you can see how the two on the left are a little bit flatter than the one on the right. That one on the right, it pushes, there's no bolt. I wish I had that video. The bolts in that shield are not created. They're just a flat plane. That whole shield is pretty flat. But since the normal map pushes so well, all those bolts, all those shapes protrude out and they receive light, and it looks really good. So that shield could go in EQ1 or EQ2. And then, just a spec map. Everybody's got their spec maps. And what I want to emphasize too is I see people who take their color map and they just desaturate it. You want to almost create all your maps individually because they are all doing something different. So just take your time. I mean, there's lots of videos out there. You can see stuff. I'd like to take time to do a tutorial, but there's lots of videos everybody can see. They're all out there, and it can teach you how to make some of these maps, and you'll understand how they all are created. Now I have one. Let me see if I can get one of these other videos to work, because we have the new category, which do we have? Oh wait, maybe I can minimize this. Do we have videos here? Yeah, here we go. Is that showing up? Yeah. Bring it the other way. Onto the other monitor. There we go. I can see it down here. Okay. Our new category is bows. So, oh man, I can't even see my cursor down there. Yeah, I can't stop. Let's see. Let me pause it. Yeah, that's me making a bow. The reason I brought this in is anybody going to be making bows for us since we have that new category? Hopefully some people. Yeah, I see a couple of hands. Only thing I want to emphasize, when you download our samples, what I did is I made an OBJ so it'll work in any program, and it's going to simulate the bones for our bow because these are an animated object. And the things you want to focus on is, let's see, does my cursor work up there? Yeah, it works up. This is great. See this middle bone right here? You'll see when you open it up. That's where the handle's going to go. And then you got a couple other bones here, your bending points. As long as you hit those points, I'll be able to create it really quick for game, and it'll go right in. We've had one bow already created, but I had to manipulate it. But as we get more, I want it to be as precise as we can as soon as we get it in, and we don't have to do a whole lot of work on our end. So that's all you got to do. You'll get to your OBJ with the bone system. You make your handle in the middle. You get your two pivot points, and you just create your bow. This goes kind of fast. See, I'm just manipulating geo. I think this video is like 50 seconds. Just show you simple creation. I was using that top bow as a reference. That's one I made a long time ago. So you got your handle, you got the side. I'll duplicate the inside geo. Almost there, and mirror it over, boom, you got a bow. That's it. So that's one thing I just want to focus. When you get those files, you open them up, just make sure you get the handle right there on that middle part and follow those two joints, and it'll be really easy for us. It'll come in, there won't be much back and forth, and we'll get your stuff in game. And that's what I have. If you want to go to Tim.
Great. Tim, you have housing items and things to talk
Thank
about?
you. And you guys are creating great stuff. We love getting your stuff in, and we love seeing ideas that we didn't think of or categories we didn't have time to fill. And that's what this program's been really good about, is filling in those gaps that we didn't have the time to put in.
All right, so again, my name's Tim. I focus mostly on the house items for EQ2. As you can see, and I showed the snapshot, I believe it was yesterday, there's a wide variety of items that we accept and players have made. Basically, not much is really off limits anymore. We've definitely kind of lightened our stance. So this year, instead of kind of focusing on the do's and don'ts, I wanted to take a cue from Kevin and focus on what do buyers want, what do creators want to make, and what ultimately sells. So I think aside from making things that people want, people have a vested interest in seeing a return. it's kind of a wall of text, I apologize, but what do buyers want in house items? First and foremost, they want a function or purpose. I'm basing this off what sells. I see the numbers, I see what people are buying, and I look at it and go, well, why? Because ultimately when I decide if I'm going to convert an item or kind of gauge its popularity, I have to make informed decisions based on that information we have from the past. Practical items, everyday items, this could almost be anything. Single item that replaces one made up of many. This is far and away one of the most important parts, and a lot of our highest selling items do exactly this. If you've seen the homes in EQ2, you know that people will build stairs or ovens or countertops and a ton of things out of multitudes of items to get the shapes they want. This is basically allowing someone to create a prop that replaces all that, frees up that item count that they can use to create other things. Items that have never existed in EQ2. I think one of the best points, and I brought this up in our keynote, was a toilet. Seahorses are also another one. There's just an opportunity there, for where we haven't released something that you guys can create it. Something that simply catches their eye. It's one of those things where you're perusing the market and you see it and you're like, I've got to have it. Can't really predict that. I put a lot of things through the pipeline to see if that's something that'll catch. Pull toys was an example of that. I was a little bit unsure. I put pull toys in because it was kind of a holiday themed, toyish type item, and was interested to see how they would do. So what do creators want to make? Well, they want to make a little bit of everything. It's not always broad appeal. Like some people mentioned in the panel yesterday, they want to make things that they want, and that's perfectly fine. They can be fantastical items, silly items, items that maybe they don't expect to sell, they just want to see in the game. And then there's definitely the items focused on return. These are the ones where people are actively seeking feedback from people, saying, hey, what do you want? I'll make it. And there's a couple creators in here who do a great job getting that feedback and iterating against it. They definitely want their item to do well. They'll make more items just like it. And as I mentioned, we've lightened our stance on unique and more real-world items. I'm sure some of those of you who were with the program when it began probably didn't like me too much. I remember some comments from last panel, why don't you let this in? Why don't you let this in? Well, at the time, it was very much we didn't want to allow too much of what we wouldn't want to put in our own world, worlds beyond the home. We don't really care anymore. Your home and taking tours of dozens of homes, you're making that stuff. Why? Why would we want to fight it? We stopped. If you see the items coming out now, it's just, I don't know, there's a huge plethora, and we've definitely kind of softened our stance. And again, homes are detached from the world. It basically means, who cares?
Yeah, but this is what we tend to do. We don't really focus. We let you guys create what you want to put in your house, and we just want to get it to visual quality that matches our game. That's our main focus now.
And what ultimately sells. Far and away, furniture, appliances, core home decoration. Not unlike you'd go to a furniture store, buy something, it's usually kind of in a theme or a set, and you take it home and you kind of stylize your room after that. That's what we see sells the best. Overly whimsical, ornate, they perform lower. Someone's really got to be in a mood to buy something that you can't really design a room around or an area around. Broad appeal items definitely sell the best. Outdoor items, well, some of our most popular prestige homes are outdoor. In fact, they are. I think that's because there's just, space to build anything. Our most popular prestige home is the plot of land. You basically can do anything you want. Holiday and event items. A lot of people create items against our holidays and events, and it tends to help them sell very well. In fact, our highest selling bundle is a holiday item. And bundles and cohesive sets. We encourage this. A lot of the feedback I give, hopefully some people can vouch for me, is I'll see an item submitted, but immediately I see the potential for a bundle or a theme or a set, and I push the creator to work on that, maybe even holding off on resubmitting that one until there's a couple more to follow. Some of the earlier items were a gold banquet, a food set, furniture sets. I mean, there's been a ton, and they tend to do really well. So again, what ultimately sells? Well, here's one example. Top selling bundle, a set of all these items you see in that picture, is the Winterfell Express train set. It was only released with this past Frostfell, and it's already on top. Why did it sell? Well, there were no trains. Again, we actually looked at this item, and I talked to our designers, and I said, we don't have trains. There's no lore for trains or anything like that. Is it okay? And they're like, And I said, it's in a home. It's Christmas. Do we care? Nope. Put it in. One of the things we also did was we made sure the tracks were scalable up to more humanoid size. This wasn't a request on the part of the creator, but I know that players probably wanted to use them for something beyond just this train. So sometimes we kind of take a chance and modify some of the items to allow uses beyond what maybe the creator intended. Top selling house item, the Gnomeworks stove. This is a stove. I'm pretty sure there's maybe one that we created, and it doesn't look anything like this. This is much more traditional, can go in almost any home style I can imagine, and that meant it's sold. Broad, clean design. It was also the first appliance of its kind in Player Studio, and being first to market definitely helps sales, be it a type of item or something new in a category. Dave was mentioning with bows. And this went through a couple feedback loops. I think Jerry learned a good amount on this one. And this is also a good example of when you guys in your submission texts put requests for a couple things, we do listen. And some recent feedback to some creators, I want you guys to say, hey, I would like some fire here, or glass here, or smoke here. And sometimes even if you don't say it, we may add it because we feel it'll help it sell. It's not too much work on our end, and again, we're focused on your return. What sold that we found surprisingly popular? Doors. I didn't think these would sell at all. I thought they were something too simplistic, and it wasn't gonna be popular as a result. Why would someone need a door? I mean, it's only for a house, and so that kind of cuts down possibly the appeal. Well, I kept my mouth shut and I put them in. Boy, did they sell. So, I'll be putting in more doors. Again, if it does well, we learn. And we will change our stance. Where's my mouse? Seahorses, fish. So I knew fish tanks were popular, very popular. And I didn't realize quite how much until these seahorses went in. My first concern with the seahorse was we weren't going to be able to animate it. Would that affect the return? It didn't at all. We thought maybe someone placed in a fish tank, but maybe they could also be used as a decoration. Well, that happened. The group of fish, the seahorses, and basically a lot of the aquatic items released have sold tremendously well. So that's just kind of a short overview of what we think sells, what we think creators are wanting to make, and what you guys are buying. With that in mind, keep submitting, keep fighting us. We've learned, and we're going to continue to learn. Just take our feedback to heart, because we've got your interest in mind ultimately.
Yeah, and the way we look at it too is once you make stuff for us, you are part of our team. You're on our dev team. We are all part of the same group trying to make stuff for our game, make our game better. So yeah, you're one of us now once you're there. So don't, the interactions, just get the feedback, go back and forth. We look at you as one of our artists on our team.
Thanks. So before we go to our final presenter, Trammell, I just want to briefly mention something exciting that's coming up. Our core technology team, Chris Lang and Andrew Skirvin, have been working very hard to make it a little easier for you guys to preview what your items are going to look like in-game through Player Studio. And they have been working on the SOE Player Studio Viewer tool. And watch the forums, and we'll be announcing, after SOE Live, we'll be releasing some more information on that in very short order. But with this tool, we're also going to expand to be able to use FBX files, which support multiple UV sets. But you will be able to create your item in your program of choice, Blender, Maya, Max, whatever you want to use. You'll be able to run this executable, load that mesh file, assign the shaders you've created in whatever your 2D program of choice is, and in the preview window, you'll be able to get a representative representation of what your item is going to look like in EQ, EQ2, or PlanetSide 2. There'll be a different the build for each of those games. So we know that sometimes there's a little bit of disconnect from what you see in your commercial program to what we are able to display, in the client. And this will help you get closer to realizing what it's going to look like in game and help you guys in the creation process. So we're really excited about that. So again, more info coming on that in the coming weeks. And let's turn it over for the last 10 minutes or so to Tremel Isaac to talk about PlanetSide 2 and some of the exciting stuff happening there.
Hello, is this thing on? All right, I'm woefully ill prepared for this. So I get the cone on screen, you get to watch that.
It's gonna move.
I've got nothing to present, just a bunch of words coming out of this face. So one of the things I want to talk about is, I really want to just get this over it really quick so you guys can ask questions, because I know you don't want to hear me talk. The forums are a really good place to start if you are starting to want to make stuff for PlanetSide 2. There's a lot of useful information just placed by us, and then a lot of help that can be given to you by players who've already made stuff and gotten it into the game or been through that feedback loop with myself or anybody else on the team. So if you're just looking to get started with PlanetSide 2, please check the forums and get as much information as you can from there. Or you can tune in to my weekly show, Inside the Player Studio, where I go over any assets and things that have been submitted. I also critique things on the stream, and answer questions during that show. So if you want any more information about how to get started, please check out that show. The past episodes are on YouTube right now, so a lot of the things that people have already asked, it's maybe something that you're interested in knowing. So if you check out those episodes, you may find out something that you were looking for. Another one of the things that we've been bombarded with as of late is our speed in which we get things to market. I gotta say that we have a really unique problem compared to the other products up here. We've got a lot of submissions and a lot of good stuff, and not enough people to put it in the store. So what we're doing right now is working on that process so that we can get that down to a reasonable amount. Right now, I think the wait time is close to 4 or 5 months. So it's incredibly tasking to, it's an incredible task to get those things to the marketplace at this point in time. One of the things that will help, something that Joe just mentioned, is the new PlanetSide. Well, we have our own viewer that's specific to PlanetSide, but it's based off the viewer that Chris Lang and Andy Skirvin made. And as a matter of fact, each one of the teams actually has a different version of the tool. So in order to use that tool, you have to have that game installed on your machine. So if you want to make stuff for PlanetSide 2, you actually have to have PlanetSide 2 installed and then actually download the PlanetSide 2 version of this tool. Because we have a certain set of rules that, those people who are making stuff for EQ2 and EQ, you guys can make textures. You cannot make textures for PlanetSide 2. It just doesn't work that way for us. So all of our texture sets are locked, and they allow you to view your creations based on your UV layouts in this viewer, but with our renderer. So that should help you, anybody out there that's trying to make PlanetSide 2 ISS, to be able to see exactly what we see when we get done. That process is also going to be all on the creators at this point in time. Currently, what we do is we take your assets and finish them off. That is no longer going to be the case, and I am so happy about that, because we can either, accept it or deny it at that point in time, as opposed to saying, oh, we see some potential in it, and then we'll finish it for you. Now you actually have to show and prove that you've got something really good, and that's awesome for us. A little bit of burden on you, but hey, this is part of the job. It's what you got to do. And of course, like I said, the speed in which we do these things is actually going to increase because of this tool, and in addition to the internal things that we're doing by making tools for us to get these things into the marketplace a little bit faster. So if anybody's watching the stream and interested and wondering why it takes so long, because it is a a serious process to get these things into the game. So we're trying to cut that down to minimal. Future items with this tool is going to allow us to open it up a lot more. We're going to be, hopefully in the near future, we'll be doing weapons, cosmetic weapons, basically allowing players to take the weapon skeletons that we currently have and certain key points that need to stay the same, and then building around those points. So character weapons, also vehicle chassis is something that we want to do in the near future as well. We will be releasing multiple versions of the different types of vehicles that we currently have in the game, and then soon after that, we'll be allowing people to make attachments for those vehicles, and then hopefully soon after that, we'll start allowing people to make different versions of those vehicles based on key points within the skeleton itself. And then, of course, anybody creating assets for PlanetSide 2 for the PC version right now, those items are automatically going to be on the PlayStation 4 version of PlanetSide 2, which is coming out this year. Which means, of course, more money for you, more exposure. I see somebody happy about that back there. He's counting his paychecks already. But that's going to be good for us. It's going to be good for expanding the brand of PlanetSide 2. And any creator who's actually making things are going to get a little bit more recognition and so a little bit of fame from making these things in PlanetSide 2 PS4 version. And lastly, of course, tune into Inside the Player Studio on every Monday from 5 to 6 on Twitch, twitch.tv/PlanetSide2. I'll be going over some of your stuff, and hopefully you'll be one of the guys or girls that I pick to beat up on my stream. And that is it. I can drop the mic now.
Thanks, Terrell. Thank everybody for presenting a little bit about their games and Player Studio today. And stay tuned on the forums for info on the viewing tool for Player Studio. Be more information coming soon on that. We have about 10 minutes available for questions. We do have the folks from EQ2 need to ditch us here in about 5 minutes to set up for the next presentation. So if we have any questions for EQ2, maybe we can take those first. EQ2 specifically.
Any questions for
Rick here.
EQ2? Because they have to go run to their panel next. By the way, the Player Studio viewer is going to be distributed with the game. So the same installer that helps you patch your game will automatically put the viewer app on your computer as well. Most people won't know it's there, they won't notice it, but you guys will know what it is. So that'll be easy. Jerry.
Hello. I know Trammell talked about the timeline for getting stuff on the marketplace for PlanetSide. I'm wondering how that compares to the timeline for getting completed items into the marketplace for EQ and EQ2.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We deal basically with the feedback and implementation. Who schedules when it goes out is pretty much out of our hands, and like I said, we tend to look at upcoming events and focus around those first, and we'll make suggestions, say, get these out, get these out. So some items that were created first could go out after, and some items that were created after could go out sooner. The release schedule isn't something we directly control. There's a fixed amount of releases, and it would not do us any good. And something I've mentioned several times, our marketplace glut, we are trying to find a way to either let you guys absorb more items at once or filter them so that there's a better chance items will get noticed. We release far more items that our Player Studio created than we do when our own items are released.
Yeah, it doesn't take us long to create the items and get it ready for game. But like Tim said, then we hand it off to our code guys. And we kind of try to space stuff out based on when we think it'll sell well, or if there's too much in the market already. So that way your items are not in the mix of a huge bunch of stuff. It's going to get views, and you'll make more sales that way. We don't want it to be a giant, huge store where you can't find anything.
I think we've also removed, like from our releases, I'm pretty sure we don't release our own items to even compete with Player Studio items. When Player Studio items are generally released, it's far and away your stuff. We don't want to kind of add to that mix. I don't know if they plan on doing more frequent releases. They have a set schedule when they can push to the marketplace based on our builds and everything else. But we do try and get them converted and at least let you guys know they are complete as soon as possible. It does obviously no one any good if they're sitting there forever without feedback. And if something does sit, we have no problem with you guys kind of pinging Rick or us directly going, what's up with this? Yeah, we'll try and answer.
The limitation on these games, on EQ and EQ2, is not the art path to bring the item in, it's the marketplace. How many of you have seen the marketplace in Landmark? It's an amazing piece of work, and it's just getting started. We're actually blessed here to have the engineer here who built it. Nandy's sitting up here next to Rosie. It's so much stronger and more robust than the older marketplaces that it can handle a great deal larger number of new items coming in, and you can still find things and enjoy the marketplace. It's my hope that in the future we'll be able to take some of the lessons we learned from this one and go back and improve the marketplaces in the older games so that they can handle more as well.
Yeah, we will never have a situation where something's not going out. We have more ready to go out than we can count. It's just a matter of timing and when we can push to the marketplace. There will never not be a release of stuff, ever. It is always going to go out, and it will be a big block when it does. And we already have the next 2 or 3 kind of lined up. It's just a matter of when and when we can push.
Here's another question. I'm on my way back.
Yeah, actually, my question was for the EverQuest 2 and Landmark. The Player Studio, is it going to support like animated textures or maybe particles, like the greater Essence of Fire, how you could reforge your weapon, something like that? From EQ2, is that going to have something like that where we can include those in our model?
He's asking about moving textures, things like that. There's things that our shader can do, like we can do moving textures and things, and although that is possible, it's usually stuff that you almost have to have our tools. We would have to do a lot of back and forth and teaching how to use our tool because you don't have access to the tool that makes those. Our shader tool has hundreds and hundreds of shaders that can do different effects and stuff. So usually it's easier for us if we see potential in something, we can add particles or things like that. But yeah, without having the tool yourself, it would be hard to see what's going on, how to make that.
However, with the viewer tool that we're working on, one of the things I want to open up because you guys will be able to see it, which is kind of important when you're working with emissives, is you'll be able to add glow. It'll be one more texture property we'll allow, and glow, hey, people love glowy stuff. The top of the seahorses, the little ball in the top, we made it glow just because it seemed appropriate. I think it was a request too, but we want to put that power in your guys' hand. It's a simple map to create, and the viewer will allow you to see it glowing. You can even change the time of day in it so you can see it glowing at night and get an idea of what it'll look like. And obviously with that is alpha. We do support it now, but you guys need to be able to see it, how it's going to work.
We have time for one or two.
One more question. Yes, here we go.
I was wondering if for EverQuest 1, close, test. I gotta eat it, really. For EQ1, you've got the guild hall, the plot where you got the guild hall in the back and you got all those houses. Can you open up the roadway and everything in between the houses and all around the guild for decoration? Or
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
That sounds much better.
Yeah, it's better.
Just do it like that.
I believe the limitations on that are on the plot itself.
I'll carry that message back for you. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. We appreciate you coming out, and we're excited as developers to see what you guys are going to be doing next for our game. So this is your program, and go out and make great stuff, and we're going to be excited to play it and buy it ourselves. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
We need to boogie.